Welcome to the Airgun Show. This week I'm taking a look at another great scope from the Zeiss Conquest V4 range. But before that, I'm heading out for some after dark ratting with the Sightmark Wraith and the Brocock Ranger XR. Right, what you've just been watching is me shooting on this farm last night. There were quite a few rats about. I was here from, I think it was about 11 o'clock-ish until almost 1 AM, and I think I shot 9 or 10 rats. I didn't do any talking to the camera because we didn't have long. I just wanted to crack on with the shooting. But we're obviously back again tonight, and I'll just kick off by talking you through the kit that I'm using and what we're going to be up to. So as you can obviously see, we're night shooting and I'm on a mixed farm, and the area that I'm going to be targeting is pretty ratty. It's got a boggy area, there's some grain stored there, there's a load of old machinery, just the sort of habitat that rats like. It's not completely overrun yet, which is what makes this a good time to try and really hammer them down before they get a real footing in here as winter starts to approach. The gun, I've got the Brocock Ranger XR. I reviewed it a few weeks ago now. Cracking little gun. I thought I'd take it out for a proper night's shooting. Its real party piece obviously is its folding stock, which makes it incredibly easy to transport. But it's also just a really nice, accurate little gun in its own right. This one's sub 12 foot-pound, 22 caliber, so it's going to be great for shooting around the confines of these farm buildings and over relatively close distances. I've got a 0 dB silencer on here, so it's also nice and quiet. And also, being such a small gun, it still handles really nicely when you've got night vision kit on it. Now, the night vision setup that I've got tonight, it's the infrared Sightmark Wraith from Scott Country. And again, I reviewed that a while back and we put that out as an Airgun Show short. So if you want to know more about this, do have a look at that. But in short, it's a relatively affordable night vision unit, but it works an absolute treat. It's very, very simple to use. And most significantly, you can record through it. So that's obviously the plan. You've seen what I did last night, and hopefully we'll get you lots more great footage tonight. So that's enough talking. I can get myself settled back in. Wow, that's two. There was actually quite a wait between those two shots, but more recently I have heard a few rats squeaking and scratching around, so hopefully things will gradually pick up.
The Sightmark Wraith comes supplied with an infrared illuminator. You can see the glow from it here because we're using a night vision camera, but it's virtually invisible to the naked eye, and the rats certainly don't seem to be aware of it.
That's a bit more like it. Things have really got going over the last 20 minutes or so. So I'm definitely getting more shots now. And they tend to be coming up between about 8 and 15 metres. So there really is no excuse for missing when you're shooting off the sticks like this. The image I'm getting through the Sightmark Wraith is fantastic, and I hope you're able to see that through the footage that I'm capturing. And actually, on the subject of the Wraith, you will probably notice that the kit has changed slightly. I've had to have a bit of a pit stop. Obviously, I was out with this last night. Haven't changed or recharged the batteries, and I've ran out of power, but thank goodness I've got the Sightmark external power pack, which has got a decent charge in it. That was in my backpack. I've just clipped that onto the Picatinny rail on the underside of the Ranger XR, and that plugs into the USB on the opposite side of the Wraith, and I've now got hours and hours of power from this. And the great thing is also I've got it mounted as far back as it will go on the Ranger, and I've still got just about enough cylinder in front of it that I've got a decent purchase on the rest on the top of my sticks. So we're back in action, and plenty of shooting time. Yeah, much more shooting time than I'm going to be prepared to stay up tonight, that's for sure. That was another nice little flurry of activity then. It's got to be said, there are rats all over the place in this particular area, and I haven't gone to the trouble of putting out any baits tonight, and I am just wondering if I had, it may have helped to keep the rats in specific areas and also to keep them still, so maybe that's something to try next time. It was a bit of a longer wait for that one, and things are definitely slowing down now, and I think taking that into account and the fact that it's approaching 1 AM and Nikki's got a very early start in the morning, I think we're going to make that the last one. That said, the kit's performing brilliantly, the gun's doing a great job, night vision's just working an absolute treat, and I'm sure that there are probably a few more to be had, so I'm going to stick around for a little bit longer, maybe give it another hour or so. Some enjoyable ratting there, and I did manage to nail a few more after Nikki left. Next up, I'm taking a look at another fantastic scope from the Zeiss Conquest V4 range. Right, some of you will probably remember that I actually reviewed the Zeiss Conquest V4 scope back in the early spring. Now, it's not a cheap scope, but the quality is remarkable, and I actually ended up leaving the scope on my rifle throughout the review period, and I had some great results with it both in the field and on the range. The scope I was using back then was the 4-16 by 44 model with the basic 60 reticle. This is the larger 6-24 by 50 version with the more sophisticated ZM-OAI T20 reticle, which we'll look at in more detail in a moment. Now this is a flagship model and its retail price is £1,250. Now that is serious money, but then this is a seriously good optic from a famous German brand. This model is 365mm long and tips the scales at about 690 grams. Now, it's not a small scope, but it still looks and feels just fine on more compact air guns. Now, it's a second focal plane scope with a 30mm tube and build quality is excellent. It's shockproof, so you can use it on recoiling air guns, plus it's waterproof and nitrogen purged to stop it from fogging up. One of the first things to really strike me when looking through these scopes was their amazing light transmission, which is a remarkable 90%. Now, brightness in lower light conditions at dawn and dusk is one of the big gains that you get when you invest in a scope like this. Now, Zeiss use quality glass and performance is further enhanced by a 6-layer lens coating process. The Conquest V4 range incorporates an impressive choice of reticle designs. Now, as I said before, I really like the simple 60 layout, but the ZM-OAI T20 reticle on here offers you a lot more reference points for aiming off to compensate for the effect of wind and gravity. Now, it isn't too cluttered though, plus it's nice and fine, which enables you to be very precise with your shots. This model also has an illuminated reticle feature. Now, it lights up the central cross to give you improved contrast and visibility of your aim point against dark or difficult backgrounds. Now, the illumination is controlled by the dial on the outside of the left-hand turret. It has 11 clear stops to give you varying degrees of brightness. The inner dial on that left-hand turret serves as the parallax adjustment wheel. Now, these scopes parallax out to infinity and, most crucially, down to just 10 yards, which makes them perfect for airgun use. Now, the dial doesn't have any distance markers on it, but I don't see that as a problem because most shooters who buy a scope of this quality are going to want to mark it with their own precisely calibrated distances so they can then use it to estimate range when the target comes into focus. The right-hand turret is your windage adjustment for zeroing. Now, it turns with remarkably positive clicks, each of which amounts to 1/4 MOA adjustment, and the multi-aim point reticle is calibrated to correspond with those adjustments. Now, I would describe it as a target turret in that it snaps out in order for you to be able to adjust it. You then make those adjustments and snap it back in to lock it in position. Both turrets are resettable and the top turret doesn't need to be lifted to turn. It has plenty of torque to hold it in place though. It has 80 MOA travel and a clear rotation scale indicator. Now, a really nice feature that this scope has is Zeiss's ballistic stop. Now, I've not yet had a chance to set it up on this one, but when you do have it set, it enables you to dial in adjustments for longer shots and always be assured of an exact return to your set zero. As I've already said, this is the 6-24x version, which gives you a huge zoom range. Now, the lower settings give you a wider field of view, which can be really handy when you need fast target acquisition for things like close range ratting,
while the top end gives you high magnification and extra precision, which is great for things like long-range bipod work and competitive target shooting. Now the zoom dial turns very smoothly but with plenty of torque, and it even has a raised lug to ensure a good grip even in the wet. These scopes are made in Japan to the highest standards, and it shows. They feel extremely tough but still manage to look elegant and very cleanly designed. Now the scope comes supplied with a tool for the turret lock, a battery for the illuminated reticle, a lens cloth and a basic set of lens covers. Now as I said when reviewing the previous model, you can get scopes that come with more accessories, but Zeiss put the emphasis on optical quality rather than unnecessary extras. I have used Zeiss Conquest V4 scopes a lot this year, on the range and in the field, and it is virtually impossible to find fault with them. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that they're the best scopes I've used to date. Now, it's very difficult to compete with them in terms of optical quality, and they've also got the versatility to do pretty much everything that airgun shooters could ask of them. Now, of course, they aren't cheap, but I would argue that you simply can't make a scope this good on a shoestring, and anybody that is able to invest in one will certainly be getting their money's worth in terms of performance and precision.
Don't miss the award-winning Airgun Shooter magazine. It's packed with hunting features, reviews, tactics and insight to help you become an even more successful shooter. Get your copy today in shops or online.
I'm afraid that's all we have time for this week, but as ever, we'll be back again in a fortnight. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And if you aren't already a member of the BASC, have a look at their website and check out the benefits that you could be taking advantage of through Airgun membership.